Tom was a renowned author who was known for his captivating stories, which would often sweep readers away into a wonderful world of hope and adventure. His stories always contained moments of heartache, but in the end, his protagonists would always find a path to redemption. Tom always prided himself in his work and loved the process of writing. Yet here he was, months into working on his new book and completely stuck for ideas. Tom was always motivated by new ideas, and spending months trying to find something was leaving him burned out and frustrated. He often took to midnight strolls through the city in order to clear his head and search for any stories he could find. He spent countless hours scouring the streets, cafes, and libraries without success. No matter what he tried, Tom was unable to come up with something worth writing about. Tom's desperation was soon growing, and he was becoming increasingly desperate for a distraction from the harshness of reality. The days were becoming darker and darker for him, and he was starting to spiral down into a devastating depression. He decided to take a trip to a distant island in hopes of finding some inspiration that would propel him toward a breakthrough. The thought of doing something reckless, something that was completely out of his comfort zone, filled him with adrenaline, and he was determined to make this trip count. Upon arriving to the remote island, Tom was immediately captivated by the surreal beauty of the landscapes. He also quickly noticed the oddity of its inhabitants, as so much about them felt strange and unfamiliar. Tom slowly started adapting to the peculiarities of the island life, and he came across many interesting stories which he wrote down in a small notepad. Tom's days were filled with exploration, and he spent the evenings just wandering the streets. He quickly found himself dazzled by the bizarre lifestyle of the islanders, and he was just as quickly ensnared by breathtakingly beautiful sunsets. However, this fascination with the island started to spark a fire of insanity within Tom's mind as he gradually lost himself in the thrill of his newfound adventures. He stopped writing altogether, and he was consumed by a profound urge to be the best explorer he could be. He was no longer thinking about the story he was supposed to write, and his notepad soon filled with unrelated tales of his newfound paradise. It all came to a head when Tom found himself standing atop the highest point of the entire island, overlooking an endless serene sea. He had no idea how long he had been standing there, but he desperately wanted to give in to the allure of the rolling waves and just dive headfirst into the unknown. His conscience was quickly slipping away, and it seemed as if there was no turning back from the brink of outrageous madness. For a brief moment, it almost seemed like Tom was giving in to the madness, ready to take the plunge. But then something in his mind clicked, and he quickly stepped back from the edge. Tom was deeply shaken by his experience, but it had suddenly provided him with the motivation and inspiration he so desperately needed. Tom returned home with a newfound determination and clarity, and he was quickly able to write the story he'd been searching for. He wrote and wrote, captivated by the energy that had inspired him in the first place. The story he produced was unlike anything he had ever done before, a story that encompassed all the intense emotions he had experienced on the island. Tom thought he had written the perfect story, yet he couldn't shake the persistent feeling of unease he had from his experience on the island. Even with the story finished, he still found himself looking over his shoulder and expecting something to come out from beyond the horizon. And with that, Tom's story was completed. The reader was left with many unanswered questions and a lingering doubt as to what brewed beneath the surface of the deep, dark unknown.
Do you have a suggestion for a new story? Comment below and subscribe to not miss the next one.